All right, so it's July 1st, 6:43 a.m. Good morning, Dick. Joe Giddens, down at Red Rock News, and happy 20% containment day to all who celebrate.
Yeah, that's a real good thing. I've been real conservative with that, but feel really good about where we're calling containment. You know, to the north is where we've got it along that 536, 535 road, where same place where we contained the slide fire, and then the other spot that we have is the that initial dozer line we put in. What is it, like 11 days ago now? That's held, and then along the 231 road back over to where we had the big blowout on Saturday. So uh, expect more of that to come in the coming days. Last night we also did a burning operation on the west flank that should keep that from going out of the northwest side of this fire. So starting to button up sides on this. And another thing is the fire has worked its way down far enough on the slope in Red Rock Secret Mountain Wilderness, where we're actually going to start getting some crews in there to actually put some hand line down on that lower section. Still, the for the most difficult portion of this now is West Fork, and we're keeping that in check with aircraft, and we've got some crews along the north edge of that canyon, putting some little check lines in, and we'll be doing some strategic firing on that if it gets active in the canyon, where we can try and cut it off on the rim top and keep it contained within the canyon. So a lot of good work going on. Got 1,036 personnel now, so it's got a lot of good work's got us to this point. Excuse me. So must have smoke in my throat here, but um, yeah, it's looking a whole lot better than it has been. You know, especially over the weekend we had those big wind events. So
Then West Fork remains one of the more challenging parts of this fire, correct? So, has there been any growth on that part of the fire since yesterday?
yeah, there is active fire on that flank. It's slowly backing. It's not a head fire. So by a head fire, I mean it's not a line into a canyon and actually running with great speed. It's just working its way, flanking its way, backing its way across the canyon wall. That's not to say that it won't actually get some alignment, because there's definitely little chutes in there that it could run up. That's why we're doing that check work out in front of it to we'll keep putting a little fire ahead of it and back it down when we need to. Uh, have not done that yet. Well, we did it actually, yeah, 2 days ago. We put a little check fire in there, but we're just trying to ease its way down through here and then keep it slow its movement with use of aircraft today, both uh, aircraft from retardants from planes as well as from our helicopters with water, and we'll actually be adding um, retardant to that mix out of helicopters, because we're setting up a hello well that actually is a mobile retardant base that will be able to use both water and retardant with our helicopters here shortly.
But at least the pocket fire spot, or the portion of the pocket fire in West Fork still remains about 4 miles out from 89A.
Yeah, about three and a half. Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's slowly working its way that way. The most active portion of this fire is the southwest flank, getting close to Secret Canyon, but it's not there yet. But that's in an area that we did a strategic burning operation 4 days ago along the from Furno Cabin out the Forest Road 539. That's keeping that from running to the top. We are looking at potentially extending that to the west on some Forest system roads out there further to the west, if this thing keeps chunking around to the west, because we don't want it to hook from the bottom and then make a run back up the hill again. So far we're keeping ahead of it. We're the fire's not managing us. We're managing the fire at this point.
Although outside of the geographic area, what specific criteria did you meet to be able to call it 20% contained?
Just basically the lack of heat against the edge of the fire. They've been mopping up, so mopping up is a very tedious task. When you go camping, you put water on your fire and you stir it and make sure it's the heat's out of it. That's what you do at a large scale. We're not doing the entire fire, but it's usually 100 feet to 300 feet in. It just depends where that location is. So that's just a slow, tedious process. But because the fuels are so dry, we're actually um, mopping up less than I would say than we normally do because the fuels, a lot of them are just burning up completely, and then the heat goes out of it. When you have some unburned portion of that and it keeps smoldering, that's the that's the stuff we get in there with. We set up hose lays and actually go in there and physically stir that all those hot spots up until they're calm.
So is that looking on the bright side of climate change?
And I, that's a stretch.
Fair.
No,
Right.
yeah, it's just a function of the lack of moisture we had during the winter, is what it is. When we get larger fuels that burn to white ash, there's still obvious a lot of heat in that, but um, it's it, it's much easier to mop up than something that's kind of still consuming some fuels. But it's a slow, tedious process, and but that's what we've been doing along those lines, and they're looking really good. You look at our infrared flights, that we don't have, it's just scattered heat if or individual heat sources what we're picking up along those where we called those contained.
And then your crews are coming up on their rotation here pretty quick. Is that going to affect operations?
Well, anytime you transition, yeah, anytime it's getting resources out, resources in. This team is actually going to be rotating out this weekend, and anytime you have any kind of transition, that's always a watch out situation. Um, just because um, you have to make sure you're maintaining your communications. You got people that haven't been on the scene. We're looking at a team transition over the weekend, so we'll be having new folks in here. If they shadow for a day, get familiar with the area, and then they take over. Same thing with our crews once they come in. One of the big things you do when you come in as a crew, you go into a division that's actually um, been staffed by someone there for days. It's actually brief them up and let them know what the environment is, so we all get a common operating picture.
Good. Dick, thank you, sir.
All righty, yeah, we'll chat you maybe later today. We'll probably get an acreage update because I don't think this acreage um, pulled in the whole part of that stuff that we burned last night. So we'll probably get an acreage update later this afternoon.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
All right. All right. See you, Joe.
All right, bye.
Bye.